Ever been caught in a moment so unglamorous, so utterly you, that when something unexpected happens, you just embrace the chaos? That was me, elbow deep in the murky abyss under my kitchen sink, battling a rogue drip. Hair piled haphazardly on my head, a trusty wrench clutched in my hand, definitely not my cover photo. Then, knock, knock. The world outside my plumbing woes was about to collide with my very unpolished reality. I hauled myself upright just as the door swung inward. Wiping my hands on a dish towel, I plastered on an air of nonchalance, hoping they couldn't sense the silent battle I'd been waging with the pipes. Didn't realize a leaky faucet came with reinforcements, I quipped, a playful smirk dancing on my lips. The first one, a distinguished gentleman with silver threading his temples and a calm aura, offered a polite smile. The second, well, Liam didn't even try to hide the appreciative sweep of his gaze, starting low and working its way up. Tall, bronzed, maybe 30, with that easygoing confidence that always sparked a flicker of both caution and intrigue within me. Just here to supervise, Liam drawled, a wink accompanying the placement of his toolbox. Gotta make sure the job's done right. I rolled my eyes, turning towards the promise of caffeine. Coffee? I offered casually, leaning against the counter, a subtle shift in my posture, shoulders back, the neckline of my worn t-shirt just a tad more open than strictly necessary. Black, please, the older man replied. Whatever she's having, Liam added, stepping just a breath too close. Not touching, but close enough to feel the air thicken between us. As I handed them their mugs, my fingers grazed Liam's, and bam! A spark. Not imagined, definitely mutual. He looked at me with a curiosity that mirrored my own. Who is this woman? His eyes seemed to ask, and honestly, I was asking myself the same thing. Bending down to conquer the cabinet under the sink once more, I felt their gazes on me. I didn't rush. I didn't adjust my shirt. I simply let them look. And when I straightened, catching Liam's lingering stare, I met his eyes and offered a slow smile. Didn't realize plumbing came with perks, Liam murmured, just loud enough to be intentional. The older man shot him a look that was a mix of amusement and warning, but remained silent. The comment hung in the air for a beat. Then, I turned my head, my gaze locking with Liam's, a lazy, unbothered smile playing on my lips. Well, I said, deliberately folding the towel, you boys did come to fix a leak. Just making sure you get the full picture. He chuckled, clearly surprised by my playful return. Even the older man, focused on his wrench, couldn't completely ignore the shift in the room. His eyes kept flicking my way. I crouched again, slower this time, reaching for a rag I didn't actually need. Their silence spoke volumes. I could feel the heat behind me, their eyes lingering. A subtle sway of my hips, just enough to test the waters. A soft exhale, a muttered curse from Liam. When I stood, he was closer. Not touching, but close enough that the warmth radiating from his body brushed against mine as he reached past me for a screwdriver. His arm grazed mine, a deliberate contact. I didn't move away. Behind him, the older man paused, his eyes meeting mine for a fleeting moment. I held his gaze, steady, expectant. No words were exchanged, but the unspoken shift in the kitchen's atmosphere was undeniable. The air felt thick, charged. The clink of tools, the hum of the fridge, even the birdsong outside seemed amplified in the sudden quiet. The older man stood frozen, wrench in hand, his eyes locked with mine, as if waiting for me to break the silence. I didn't. My heart tapped a little too loudly against my ribs, the warmth in the room having nothing to do with the weather. I hadn't felt this seen in years. Not the polite acknowledgement of daily transactions, but a deeper, more visceral awareness. Since the divorce, I'd convinced myself I was fine, that I didn't crave that kind of attention, that I didn't miss being touched, noticed, wanted. I'd been lying to myself. Standing there, knowing these two men were trying to focus on pipes and screws while their eyes kept straying, it stirred something within me. Not just physically, but in that quiet, neglected part of my soul. Liam shifted behind me, his arm brushing mine again as he reached for something on the counter. An unnecessary contact. I let it happen. The space between us felt electric. I turned slightly, catching the older man wiping a bead of sweat from his brow. He didn't look away, and that simple act resonated more than any compliment. A what-if bloomed in my mind, a fleeting fantasy. Their silent approach, my back against the cool counter, their hands finding places that had been untouched for too long. No words needed, just a mutual surrender. I blinked the thought away, but not fast enough. Liam must have seen something in my expression. "You always this easy to read, Maya?" he murmured, stepping closer. "Or is today special?" His voice was lower now, the playful tone gone, replaced by something that made my breath catch. "I guess that depends on who's reading me, Liam," I replied, surprised by the steadiness of my own voice. He smiled, a confident curve of his lips. One more step closed the remaining distance. His hand slid to my waist, hovering there, giving me a silent opportunity to object. I didn't even flinch. The older man hadn't moved, but his gaze was intense, his chest rising slowly. And then Liam leaned in, no rush, no hesitation. His lips found the side of my neck, a soft, deliberate press, like a long-held thought finally given form. My eyes drifted closed. I needed this. I wasn't going to pretend otherwise anymore. For a moment, everything stood still. His lips left my neck, but the sensation lingered, a warm imprint. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Liam was still close, his heat enveloping me. But there was a space beside me, behind me. I waited. Not out of fear, but out of a deep curiosity. Would the older man remain an observer? A soft shuffle on the tile. A larger, steadier hand rested gently on my shoulder. I didn't flinch. He stepped behind me, slow and sure, his body close but not pressing. One hand slid up, his fingertips tracing my neckline as he swept my hair aside. The other remained grounded at my waist, anchoring me. And then I felt it. A quiet kiss pressed to the side of my neck, just above where Liam's had been. But this was different. Where Liam's had been bold and teasing, this was slow, reverent, like rediscovering a forgotten language. My eyes closed again, and I leaned back into him, steady and slow. And then I understood. I was surrounded. Liam still stood before me, eyes lowered, a smile playing on his lips. He stepped closer, his hand coming up to cup my jaw, his thumb gently stroking my cheek. The edge of the counter pressed against my hips. I was bracketed by strength and confidence, warmth and calm. Not trapped, but held. Their hands moved in an unspoken rhythm, one along my arm, the other across my lower back. His lips grazed my shoulder. A palm guided me back, then forward. They never asked, never rushed. They simply created a space for me to surrender. And I did. I released the tension I hadn't realized I'd been carrying for years, the brushing off of glances, the swallowed ache of absent touch. There was no guilt, no shame, only a profound sense of ownership. I wanted this, and I liked letting them lead. They moved with a quiet understanding. One traced a slow line down my spine while the other kissed my shoulder again, his breath warm against my skin. My hands rested on the counter, steady now. My body had stopped pretending. They were in sync, a silent choreography, one hand at my hip, another lifting my chin, lips tracing the base of my neck, then along my jaw. I tilted my head back, caught between them, every breath stolen. I couldn't discern whose touch was where, and I no longer cared. Their movements flowed seamlessly, fingertips gliding along my ribs, a kiss beneath my ear, a firm grip returning to my waist, just as my legs softened. I didn't have to think, didn't have to direct. All I had to do was feel, and I did, completely. I wasn't a performance, a prize, or a secret. I was a woman who had stopped hiding her needs, and two men who had stopped pretending they didn't want this too. The moment stretched, long, quiet, unbroken. The older one murmured something against my skin, inaudible, but leaving a mark I could feel. Liam moved in tandem, steady, confident. Everything else, the room, the sounds, the past, faded away. There was only this, only them. And then, it stopped. They both pulled back at the same time. One hand slid from my back, the other brushed down my arm before releasing me. I stood there for a moment longer, still breathing hard, eyelids heavy. Liam spoke first, his voice softer now. "Anything else you need, Maya? Fixed?" I looked at them, Liam with a flush on his cheeks, the older man with a subtle grin he tried to suppress. I smiled. Maybe tomorrow. I hadn't planned for any of this, but perhaps that was the point. I hadn't stopped it either, and once I'd let them in, I hadn't wanted it to end. Be honest. Did a part of you wish you were there too? If you were, what would you be doing? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading. And if you haven't yet, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching and for being part of